This is Geoffrey Njue again, Specialty Crops Field Specialty with the SDSU extension. We are going to talk about the last section of the growing transplants presentation, and in this last part we are going to talk about transplanting. You have grown your transplants, and then it's the time to transplant them into the field. But before you transplant into the field, let's talk about when to transplant. The main goal of growing your transplants, you are trying to achieve or to get compact, stocky, healthy plants, and this can only be achieved by proper scheduling of growing your transplants. And so different species of plants will require a different time period from when you plant your seed to the time these transplants or seedlings are ready to be transplanted in the field. And so you schedule depending on what species you are going to grow. For cucurbits, that is things like cucumber or pumpkins, they would need about 2 to 3 weeks. For others like tomatoes, brassicas, like cabbage and others like lettuce, Swiss chard, they would require about 4 to 6 weeks. And for others like pepper, eggplant would require about 6 to 8 weeks. So you need to look at the label on the packet, and you schedule your transplants so that the transplants will be ready to transplant at the time when the weather warms up. Now, prior to transplanting, it is important that the seedlings or the transplants get a gradual acclimation to the stresses of field conditions, because in the field you are not going to get the same care and the same environment that you have when you are growing them indoors. And so you need to start them gradually about 2 weeks before you transplant to acclimate them by reducing the watering. But don't reduce watering to wilting point. Just reduce the watering, and also you need to reduce the fertility, because you want to make sure that they are acclimating to the stress that you're going to experience in the field. And also you can do that. Also you need to reduce temperature. So you want to reduce the temperature from to about 45 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit, and then expose your transplants during the day to outdoor conditions of wind and sunlight. But of course, make sure that you bring them in at night, because you may still have some freezing or some frost out there, and you don't want them to be killed by the frost before you transplant them. And then finally, you have to get the transplanting. And in transplanting, you want to choose a cloudy day. Don't plant them during a sunny day when it is a bit warm out there. You want to transplant them during a cloudy day. And before you take the plants to the field, make sure that they are well watered where they are growing. And then after you have transplanted them, you make sure that you water them with a dilute fertilizer solution, so to get them a start in growing in the field. So that brings us to the end of this growing transplants presentation and those 4 parts. We'll appreciate to hear from you either by email or by calling us in our Sioux Falls SDSU Extension Regional Center. Thank you.